Right everyone, welcome. Ryan here from the London Craftsman channel, and today's video is a little different today. I'm jumping on some drawings at the moment. I've got two pretty big wardrobes, probably the biggest ones I've done in a good few years, maybe a good 5 years. They are pretty complicated, a lot of things to think about. So I'm in the house with all the drawings laid out. It's not as simple as just drawing it out on plan view and working out all the measurements in 5 minutes. You've got to work out one thing to then work out another thing. So I've got all the drawings out. I'm going to go through them with you. I'm just going to show you a little bit about how I'm going to work my way through this particular wardrobe and how I'm actually going to design it and go from here. So I'm in here now. I've got a big table to work on. I've printed out all of the customer's spec sheets. Okay. So we are going for a unit which is like a C shape. Okay, it's pretty big, and this designer is working with the customer. Her name's Kim Tasker, but we're based in Watford, and so is she, and she's pretty amazing at all these drawings. So when I came to price up the job, she sent me an email with all of these. I mean, I opened it up and I was like, wow, that is a lot of detail to look at to price. But eventually got there. Customer originally wanted to use IKEA PAX units and then clad them, but that really wasn't my cup of tea. Don't really know how they fix together. I could have just seen a lot of problems with using the PAX. So I said that I can't do it like that. Just it's not what I do. I like to just build the carcasses myself. That way they can be custom, customized to whatever you like. The doors don't have to be a certain size. The carcasses don't have to be a certain size. We decided to go down the route of making them ourselves. And yeah, this is what today's video is all about. Working out the drawings, because all of these are not to scale as such, where I can't take my exact measurements off them. This is the designer's measurements, not mine. Obviously, I have my own way of building things, the way I deal with junctions, for example, corners of doors, the way that little bookshelf on the end is going to be built, etc., etc. I've got my own version of making things, haven't I? So there is not enough detail on there. So what I did is I went to the customer's house. We spoke about all of this, how we wanted the layout to be. So this back wall here, this is a stud wall, okay? And there's going to be a bed on this side, so this is a bookshelf on the end, but there is a sort of like a fixed headboard to the carpet that's going to be taken away. It's going to create a hole in the carpet, so that ultimately told us where this wardrobe had to be placed as such, because it needs to cover the existing hole once it's removed. Okay, so I've obviously gone there and spoke to them, and I've obviously taken my own measurements. Crude as they look, that's near enough everything I need. Plus there are a few bits of information in emails that we sent each other. The designer and I have been chatting over emails and WhatsApps. I'm just sketching it out. I'm not doing any sort of software. I'm doing a sketch, I'm drawing it, and I'm working it as I go. If I come across a problem, I can rub it out, try again. It's all about getting voids right and working out things as you go along. Corner junctions, I don't particularly know what corner piece to leave, what dimensions of the corner piece I need to leave for those two doors to work, okay? So to get into the corners, you obviously need enough space to get into them, so the doors need to be a certain size. These doors also have planks on, so if you have a look here, we've got a planked effect. Sorry, the light here is a bit yellow. So we've got a plank effect on these doors, which doesn't help the situation. Luckily enough for me, it's a random plank effect, so basically all that's going to be is a router cutter 3mm, or the plungy set to 3mm deep and run through to give that effect on an 18mm thick door. Yeah, we still got to think of that. So when we are dividing up doors, I haven't drawn the door lines in yet, or the carcasses just yet. I mean, I need to figure out how big this corner little piece needs to be, so when the doors are opening and closing, the handles don't hit each other, etc. So my way of tackling this job was just to draw the outline. It's not to scale in any stretch of the imagination, okay? I've drawn in all the measurements I have on my site drawings, okay? So on my site drawings, I've got the opening width, I've got the wall to the opening, there's a set of steps here that we're working around, I've got how much the treads overlay, the opening, etc., etc. So I've basically transferred all the measurements I have overalls of like wall to wall overall, this one was important. So this is the doorway, by the way, you're coming in this way. And this was where the carpet cutout will be, because there's an existing headboard that's going to be removed. So I've got my overall measurement of 2.325, okay, to the start. So I've added on 50mm for tolerance. So that's 2.325, where the cutout's going to be at its furthest. So we're going to go 2.375. So there's lots of bits that we need to transfer onto this. And so from that point, what I do is I just start drawing in little rectangles. This carcass, I don't particularly know if it has to be in line with the steps. We're trying to squeeze a lot in this overall depth of let's just say 2.4 nearly. Which means the fatter or the deeper we go on these units, the less access we've got here. Then if we look at the plan view, we've got quite a lot going on here. So we've got 3 carcasses we need to get in there and access to. So, by the time I've worked it out, I can't work all these doors out and the spacings and these divisions and the carcasses in there before I then know if this is good enough, this 1196, which, it's only 1.2. On her drawings, it says 1250, but then she's not worked out corner details, how much you're going to lose on corners and spacings and all that sort of stuff. So this is why it's a bit of a tricky one when you're doing a job like this. You've got to work out one section before we then work on the other section. Then you go back on it and back and forward until you sort of got there in the end. So it's taken me about 5 hours just to get to this point. A lot of thinking. As I come across a question, I write them down, and so each one of those is a question. Okay, so wanted to double check. Underside of bathroom isolator switch is 2.4. Am I making the wardrobe 2.380 high? So for example, there's a bathroom door here. There's an isolator switch just there. Is this going to determine the overall height of the wardrobe? Stuff like that, that's not in the drawings, okay? So questions like that I need to then write down and ask before then I can get on, because ultimately with the heights, we can't work out the internal layout. So I'm on this stage now where I'm just waiting back to hear from Kim about this overall width, and I'll go over a few. How far from steps am I finishing the wardrobe side panels? Okay, so the wardrobe, how much gap are we going to leave in between the treads and the cheeks? All right. In my mind, I'd be wanting to leave 50mm, because we need to allow movement. This is going to be one rigid wardrobe. It's going to be, there's no moving it here and there. If you move one piece, the whole thing moves. Okay, so if this wall is out of level or out of square, something like that, and you need to tweak it, you've got to move the whole thing as one, which means we need to leave a little bit more than just 10mm tolerance there or 20mm. I've allowed 50, okay, just in case this wall is out, the skirtings get bigger. I know the skirtings on this particular job are 30mm, pretty big, 30 to 35mm actually, and downstairs wardrobe was 40mm. On this one I've left less, 20, and this is ideally what she wanted, but 50 is what I'm going to be leaving on that side, just to be safe. So we've got a sliding door. So this is an entrance to a bathroom. As you can see from this front view, you walk up 3 stairs and you go into a little entrance, but there's a sliding door going to be fixed. I'm going to be fit in there. It's going to be sliding behind the wardrobe. Okay, so obviously that's another detail I need to think about. How much void do I need to leave? If I leave too much, I'm just making this unit tiny. I've also got to think of the overall. So I mentioned a while ago, I think, that this is only 1196. How do I gain that extra space? Do I make this carcass smaller? See, these stairs are 490 overall. So I've made this unit 490 overall from the back wall to the front of the doors. 490 minus the 22 of the doors and the 30mm skirt and the 6mm leaves 432 inside usable space. Then this one's even smaller. This is 342 usable space. So if we are going to try and maximize this to make it 1250 like her drawing shows, or to make it a little bit bigger, then we need to decrease this, or we need to pinch a little bit off of this carcass. Don't make it 580, or we need to increase the width of the entire C shape. So there's loads of things to think about. Another thing I've been racking my brains about is the plank effect, which I've been talking about. So the plank effect everywhere on this, it shows that it's even. Okay, so if we look at the top view, this is a wall where the bed's going to sit up against. Okay, this is just a stud wall which I'm building. It's going to hit up against the carcasses, and then it's going to wrap around and turn into a bookshelf. But this one shows that it is even parallel cuts, whereas all the others show that it is uneven and it is random effect. That is one of my questions. Are planks random? If so, what sizes and how many? Sort of like 50 mil, 75 mil, 100 mil, or do I just go off the cuff and pick them myself? Because I'm guessing that she would have just picked a few sizes there. For example, 50, 75, 100 in 25 increments or something like that. So, but because there are so many different sizes, let's look at this drawing here. Okay, so because there are so many different sizes, this door, this door, this door, and this door, they're all the same, but that one's different. Again, this one looks different from this one, and this one looks different from these. So that's like 4 different sizes there. That if you try to divide them up into one, so let's just use one door as an example. If we just got 250 mil randoms and a 75 and 100 mil random, on that door, it probably wouldn't work on that door, and it probably wouldn't work on that door. Okay, so we're just going to make the random effects up, and this is the questions I need to know, because once you built it, you built it. You don't know what the designer's thinking or what the customers have in their mind. All they see are these visuals that look pretty cool. They don't look into the detail of how it all works. Things I need to think about also are lights. So these blue squares and circles are where light switches and sockets are going. So because there are light switches on the side of my cheek, so when we finish a wardrobe, we put a side panel on. So there's a side panel there and a side panel there, or a cheek, whatever you want to call it. It needs to have a back box for that switch or socket, which means that we need to make that cheek side panel thicker than usual. We usually use 18, gonna have to ramp that up to 25 mil to allow for the back box. Things like that you need to think of. The designer showed this bit here, there's a void, a bit of a wasted space, which for me is pointless, don't need that. And she's designing it in a different way from me, where how I'd make it work. Okay, so this would be a fixed panel here, and then the plank effect will run on through the doors to that fixed panel, and then we've just got to return that with a cap. Whereas what I've done is I'm putting these little caps on the front with a little shadow gap to sort of like mimic the plank effect. We could put these little caps on the front afterwards. So we'd fit this carcass or 2 carcasses, then we fit this carcass. That's a side and that's an upright to create the void, to then create the 100 mil that we need here. Again, thinking in advance, because we've got a stud wall here, we need a cap. That determines the overall width of this cap, which then we've got to do exactly the same on this side. We're using CLS 63 plus an 18 plus an 18, which equals 100, I think, or 100. I don't know why I've got 100. I think it's 99. And then again, yeah, then it's had to be the same here. So we need a side there, and we need a side there, but I don't want to use the side of the wardrobe as the finish. It's got to have a panel that goes on last, so there's another panel that goes on. Overall 100 mil, put the cap on, done. Other things I've pulled up are the fact that because there's no top trims on this wardrobe, okay, the finish is the top of the doors. The doors go from the bottom of the carcass to the top of the carcass, okay. So when you've got a double, for example, this one here, these units are kind of 750. So I'm guessing that's because the IKEA PAX units were 750. These have been modified, by the way. So since we've got the go-ahead to make, she has adapted these drawings, which are on a PDF. These are old, so not all the changes have been showed. But yeah, they're 750. So what that means is they span quite a distance. There is no support on for the top piece. Okay, so I don't have any drawings here showing the interior of the wardrobe, okay, but most of them are just open with shelving, so that one won't have a division in. So what I'm trying to get at is this top will not have supports. There was a division running all the way up, or it had a top trim. If the top trim was there, it would add support to stop it sagging, but it doesn't. So there's things like asking the question, do I put a division in and divide that space up into two, rather than, well, there's no other option really, or put a thick shelf in and then put a division, because yeah, otherwise that top would sag. Even if we use 25mm, over time it will sag because there's no top trim or there is no division. So this job is all painted. We're going for the Dulux, and we're going for a yellow and a cream colour on mixture of the two. This is the bigger one of the two wardrobes, and I've just dug out the other wardrobe. This is the other one that we're doing. This is an L-shaped wardrobe. So basically this downstairs is a multi-use room. This is like toys and clothes. So the front is going yellow, and which is this one, and the interior is going cream. But upstairs, the big wardrobe, the huge one, is all going this throughout. We're using Dulux trade, but we're going to use diamond as well. The two colours, all eggshell, water-based, sprayed with our airless sprayer. So we've already done this one. That's ready to go. That's been machined so far, and there's a lot of spraying to do. They're going to be spraying 60 litres, I'm estimating. Yes, 60. It's quite a lot. The paint that we are using is £90 for 5 litres. So there you go, you do the maths. But it's a nice one to do. But I did feel like I had to make a video to show you that it's not just draw it out, just moving bits around. I like being able to just draw it in, rub it out, draw it in, rub it out until I get to it. And then if it looks like a dog's dinner at the end, I can just draw it out on CAD or another freehand drawing. But yeah, we are probably about 30% there. The designer has all of these to answer, and I can't really get that much further without getting those answered. But yeah, this is what I need to do for this big job. Generally don't go this far in detail with any other job, because this one, yeah, there's a lot of variables: planking, gaps, walkways, tolerances, that sort of stuff. Corners, there's 2 corners to go on this one. A lot to think about. So there you go, that is an insight into me designing this one, and this is generally what I do on most jobs. I draw it out freehand. This one is going to probably take me about 20 hours worth of labour to put into it, because you just can't rush it, okay? I can't just bang it in. I don't know every measurement and every detail straight away without asking the question, and going and doing that bit, then going back and doing that bit and working my way to the answer. Whereas other wardrobes, wall to wall, I know the door's got to be divided up by 5 or 6, whatever. I can get that done in 1 hour probably. But yeah, a lot to do on this one. I'm really, really chuffed that I got it, because it's going to be a nice piece once it's all finished. Got any questions, just let me know. I'll try and get back to you. Busy person, always trying to answer questions. So if I don't get back to you straight away or at all, I'm really sorry. I'm just always busy, always busy. This YouTube channel takes up a lot of time, considering I have a paid job and have kids to look after too. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great Sunday. I'll see you next Sunday also. If you haven't liked and subscribed, make sure you do that. Share the video, etc., etc. See you later, guys.